we're going to be covering the pros and cons of living in River Oaks. So if that's what you're here for, stick around. We're going to be getting after it right now. Hey everybody, this is
Drew
Mims, and I'm Carrie Fletcher, and together we're
Drew Carey.
She hates that, but it's a little cheesy, but we love it. Look,
Not cheesy.
this channel is all about living here in Houston, Texas. The goods, the bads, the ugly, all over Houston. And if that's what you're here for, then go ahead and
Subscribe.
hit that subscribe button, ring that bell. That way you're notified every time we put out a new video. And we're doing videos about 1, maybe 2 a week right now. And when you get ready, when you and your family are ready to move in, go ahead and give us a call, send us a text message, send us an email, even send us a note via
Oh gosh, Pony Express.
any way you want to reach us. We've got your back when moving here to Houston, Texas. So let's jump right into it. We're going to be talking about, and she's going to be doing most of the talking because she's really most knowledgeable of this. Born and raised here in Houston with a few caveats.
No, I was not born in Houston.
Okay. Family. She's her third generation Houstonian. Let's phrase it that way.
I know,
She's
but
a third generation Houstonian. And we're going to be covering and talking about Houston's most lavish neighborhood, River Oaks. And we're going to be talking about the pros, and we're going to be covering the cons. And the most important one, the one that you'll be like, what, really? We're going to be hitting that last. And so you're going to want to stick around. So let's get after it. What is the number one pro when you're thinking about River Oaks and when you're living here in River Oaks?
Well, it's beautiful. It's beautiful to drive through. It really is. It just almost a somewhat of a park-like setting. Lots of really mature, beautiful trees, large homes. It's got a lot of prestige, very elegant, beautiful architecture.
So I didn't grow up and live anywhere in and around Houston, but even for me, whenever you think of Houston and you think of that, when you think of the most lavish, most beautiful, and the reputation of being the most premier neighborhood, you think River Oaks. I mean, it just has that history from back in the late 1800s, early 1900s, and it's just always had that reputation. So there's things like not only the city of Houston, but throughout this whole region, people come in during this time and do the Christmas lights trail. We've got a link we'll put down in the description of the Christmas lights trail. But then during the spring, you get the
Azalea Trail, which is
Trail,
incredibly beautiful.
and everybody comes in, and it's like the place to be. You also have when you're talking about that lavish, really high-end lifestyle, the anchor of it is the River Oaks Country Club, which you were telling me.
Well, they've got a professionally designed golf course. They hold a big golf tournament there every year. Beautiful tennis courts. It's just an amazing property.
And don't they host like a pro tennis tournament there every spring or summer?
I believe so.
Yeah.
For sure, golf.
And then you also, but those are some of the other ones, but you've got its own little separate chamber orchestra, you were telling me?
Well, separate from the country club, but there's
Yeah.
a River Oaks chamber choir. Chamber orchestra. So if you like classical music,
And if you just want to be in the premier neighborhood with the history and the reputation and the beauty, River Oaks is the place to be. And it's number one reason why a lot of people live there. Second is talk about, CEOs and influential people within companies want to live very convenient to where those companies are. So River Oaks, it's no mistake that it's super convenient to places like downtown,
Galleria, Med
Center, anywhere where you want to be, River Oaks is super convenient. You've got things like Memorial runs just north of there, but it runs east-west right into downtown. I always call it, she hates it when I do this, I call it the Allen Parkway. Just Allen Parkway. Literally runs right into River Oaks and right into Kirby. That's an easy parkway that runs right along the bayou, right into downtown.
Which turns into Kirby, that goes through River Oaks, and so you're right next to the Upper Kirby district, and so it's conveniently located to restaurants, but that are outside the neighborhood.
Right.
Or on the edge.
And you've got Westheimer that runs right into the heart of Galleria. Mm-hmm. And for those of you who don't know, we'll be covering Galleria later, but Galleria started out as this...
In another video.
Yeah, sorry. Later in another video, started out as this shopping center, this very high-end, huge mall, and now has grown into sort of a secondary downtown where you've got BHP headquartered out there, you've got... Tillman Fertitta's headquartered out there. You got a lot of office Landry's. You got a lot of office complexes out there. So convenient, lavish. What's another one of the big? What's the number 3 pro into living in River Oaks?
Did we go through the number 2?
Number 2 is convenience.
Well, you forgot to talk about shopping. There's a whole River Oaks shopping center. The original, right. Not the River Oaks shopping district, but the River Oaks shopping center. So it's got this wonderful historic smaller movie house that still has, it was like the first movie theater in Houston to have a bar in it. And
which is important.
But they show a lot of art movies there. I think they used to show the Rocky Horror. I'm not sure if they still do. But then you've got some really good restaurants and local shopping right there, just on the edge of the neighborhood. That makes it super convenient. And there is a signature Kroger. And then you're also close to Central Market, which is another really good grocery store.
Cool. And so number 3, as I was saying, larger lots. When you're talking about living in we talk about it all the time. Houston's the 4th largest metropolitan area, soon to be, most people anticipate being the 3rd largest metropolitan area and this convenient, this close. What happens is oftentimes the larger lots, the larger homes get bought, subdivided into smaller lots. But that doesn't happen in River Oaks. You've got these huge 10, 15, 20,000 square foot.
Well, you've got ironclad deed restrictions, and I won't preempt number 5.
Well, no, let's go ahead and, let's just do number 5. Let's do it next because it drives, the deed restrictions and the HOA rules really is what drives this.
So number 5, in case you haven't guessed, is the Homeowners Association.
We're gonna make it number 4.
Okay, number 4, Homeowners Association.
Decision on the fly.
So, the pros, which we see the Homeowners Association as a pro because of their rules and deed restrictions that they have in place, it really does keep the value of the properties in River Oaks up.
And it basically de-incentivizes developers from coming in, buying a large lot, and then subdividing it, because one of the key rules is you can't have a house within River Oaks that is 3 stories. Now, like you see in some of these other places where they start building up to get more square footage on the lot. Now, we have friends that live there in River Oaks, and they have 3 stories, but how do they kind of get around that, and how do they make that work?
Well, it was an attic space that they finished out, and it's essentially just a game room.
Right. So the way that you work around that and the way that you see some of those is the only time you have any living space that's on that 3rd floor, it's within an attic space. So when you're looking at it from the outside as you're driving through the neighborhood,
you can't see it.
You can't see it, right? And that's super important. And because of those large lots, the green space also ties into the walkability and the park system.
So there are several community parks within River Oaks, and one of them is the River Oaks Park, and it is known for its Cinderella-like pumpkin carriage. So if you have kids, or if you're just nostalgic for fairy tales,
It's
Be a fun place to go hang out.
really cool. So number 5. So we kind of, 3 and 4 were kind of combined there, but number 5 we're going to talk about schools, and specifically we're going to talk about River Oaks Elementary School. It's
a very good public school within Houston. It's like one of the best elementary schools within the Houston Independent School District.
And I would take it a step further. Really one of the best, if not the best, reputation of elementary school throughout.
But if you're not, if you're have different needs or you're interested in a really good private school, St. John's is right there on the edge of River Oaks.
Mm-hmm. And also, even if you don't have a need for elementary school education, it's another one of those drivers that continues to draw in new buyers, draw in new affluent buyers, and continue to hold, if not grow, the overall
good
value.
Schools are always good for resale.
So
let's talk about cons.
Oh, now everybody's already sold. They all want to move into River Oaks. Let's talk about the cons.
Let's get down to the dirty here.
And remember, like we said, the last one, you'll be like, oh yeah, I should have thought of that one. So let's get to it. The cons. The first con that we have is...
It's also a pro, but it can be, a con as well, which is the Homeowners Association.
Right. So it's not a historic district. And matter of fact, when we were doing some research for this video and we were talking about it, there's sort of this give and take, this pull back and forth about River Oaks losing some of its history because new buyers are coming in and tearing down some of the older homes and doing new construction. And so the con of that is the HOA rules, right? So the HOA rules are restrictive into what type, but there's not really an overall historical preservation part of it. There's also not, there's also some real limitations on what you can or can't do as far as if you do want to buy an older home, tear it down. It can really add to the overall cost and the length of the project going through the approval process of not only the HOA, but also the city of Houston. So if you're looking at doing that, realize that you're going to have to take the time to get approvals through both of those. Also, we sort of touched on this. Do you want to cover this? Because you and I have some different opinions on how its reputation is in comparison to some of the other neighborhoods and some of the overall pricing.
So Carrie put down that it was losing some of its luster, maybe. I disagree with that. I think, there's different neighborhoods are going to appeal to different people for different reasons. I think, the beauty of River Oaks is that you have the old and the new. Mm-hmm. But there are some people who really just want to be in a newer neighborhood and have that feeling and not be restricted and maybe just have more flexibility. And so if that's what you're looking for, River Oaks probably isn't the right choice for you.
And so the reason I put it down there is, throughout most of the history of Houston, River Oaks has just always been synonymous with the most prestigious, the most affluent one. But really, when you take a look at where are the most expensive homes, where are the largest lots, where are a lot of the really high-end new construction, where are people putting some of that in? Some of that's moving into that Tanglewood Memorial area that's just outside of the 610 loop. And so I feel like that's at least something worth bringing up as a potential con or a potential, drawback on it. All right, so number 3, and this really has only impacted the River Oaks area just since Harvey, and that is some of the land has become prone to flooding, and especially those the larger lots that are right along the bayou. And we'll cut in a map, kind of give you a look at how that impacts it and how it impacts the golf course area too. And then the last one, and this one is so, you would think it would be obvious, but because of all the ways and all these new what's the fastest way to get through? Because you've got the mapping app, you've got all these different commuters coming down through the heights, coming through Rice Military that are going to these shopping districts and through these areas. And because it's so easy and convenient, they're cutting through all the time. And traffic is kind of brutal at certain times of the day. And so it's convenient, but then everybody's trying to shortcut through or drive through. Well, hey.
Rush hour.
Well, look, this has been a great time. Whenever you're ready to come to Houston, whenever you're ready to make that decision, don't forget to give us a call, shoot us a text message, send us an email, or just send us a note via Pony Express. Any which way, we've got your back, and we can't wait to talk to you again during our next video.
Until next time.
Bye-bye.